Welcome to week 23, June 8, 2012 of Boats on TV's World on Water, your weekly roundup of all the top news and action from around the world of boating. Last week we saw the finish of leg 1 of the Europa warm-up race, and this week the solo leg 2 started in the Portuguese town of Cascais. At 1600 local time, the 7 skippers faced the 2,300-mile-long single-handed course that will take them from Cascais to La Rochelle. The course, as long as a normal Transat, but with 3 challenging legs, passes first to Santa Maria in the Azores, the Fastnet Rock-Off Island, and Belle-Île-en-Mer, as marks of the course will surely represent a valuable Vendée Globe trial run for men, boats and equipment on all point of sailing. The yachts are Rimoca Open 60s and are state-of-the-art designs. As predicted, Leg 1 winner Verbeek Patrick 3 led the fleet away into the Atlantic, and on day 2, Francois Jabart took a slender lead on McKeith as leader Dick called his shore team to confirm that he'd been suffering with a problem with the keel hydraulics on Verbeek Patrick 3, which had him heading back to Lisbon. Quito de Pavant on Group Bell broke a mast while sailing downwind in fresh breezes and a 2.5 metre sea. The top of his mast broke off at the level of the staysail tang fitting. Finally, at 9 hours 22 minutes 50 seconds last Sunday morning, Vincent Riou on PRB crossed the finish line in La Rochelle of the 2-leg Europa warm-up race to win the 3,200 miles second stage. Francois Jabart on McKeith crossed the finish line at 10 hours 33 minutes 58 seconds UTC to take second place on the leg, 1 hour 11 minutes 8 seconds behind winner PRB. So the solo skipper of McKeith also takes second place in the overall standings behind Vincent Riou. Morgan Larsen was crowned King of the Lake after Torben Tornquist Artemis picked up another 2 wins on the penultimate day on Lake Troncy to take the win at the RC44 Austria Cup. The start of the day didn't look hopeful as the 12 RC44s were held ashore. The start was postponed by an extra hour as Principal Race Officer Peter Reggio's uncanny sixth sense for these things prevailed, and racing finally got underway in 10 knots from the south. Then on the final day, there was a complete change of season on Lake Troncy for the final race of the RC44 Austria Cup. The intermittent rain and unseasonal cold gave way to sunshine, but this came at the expense of wind. After a long wait, finally a sea breeze filled in from the north, allowing the RC44s to rally on the start line for a gun at 1500, the latest allowed under the sailing instructions. In the overall season championship after 3 events, Chris Bake's Team Aqua continues to lead, having ended up 4th in Austria, while Artemis is now 3 points astern in 2nd. Valentin Zavadnikov, co-owner of Synergy Russian Sailing Team, was pleased that they remain in the lead of the match racing, assisted by their America's Cup winning former match racing world champion tactician Ed Baird. Next up for the RC44s over 18 to 22 July is the event in Marstrand, Sweden, on Torben Tornquist's home waters. In this week's Fresh to Frightening, we look at the day 1 action on board Nicholas Zenstrom's TP52 Ran in the all-new 52 Super Series in Barcelona, Spain, when a crew member who was working a grinder during a jibe was caught by the wildly swinging main sheet and it flipped him over very quickly. Owner Catherine Zenstrom checks that he is okay, and like a professional crew, everybody goes back to their designated jobs, and helmsman Nicholas Zenstrom doesn't miss a beat and powers up, putting pressure on the fleet. Sweden's Bjorn Hansen won the Korea Match Cup by defeating Britain's Ian Williams 3 races to 2 in the final of the second event on the 2012 Alpari World Match Racing Tour. The final went right to the last metres of the last race, with Hansen coming from behind to grab the victory from the 3-time world champion, and with it, Hansen's second successive Korea Match Cup title. A dramatic day of racing began with the final flights of the semi-finals, and Williams started more strongly, winning his first race to complete a 3-0 defeat of Torvar Mirsky. Meanwhile, Hansen had to go to 5 races to dispose of New Zealander Phil Robertson. But perhaps the greater test was to Hansen's ultimate benefit, as he was quick to build a lead against Williams in the final. The world champion came back strong though, and he pulled it level to 2-all, forcing a decisive 5th race. Ian Williams maintained his momentum to lead all the way round, only to see Hansen snatch the victory and the Career Match Cup title from him in the final metres of the final leg. It was an extraordinary turnaround and a great victory for the Swede, who had a poor regatta at the Tour's opening event in Germany. The second stage of the Alpari World Match Racing Tour has left winner Bjorn Hansen level on 31 points with Pierre-Antoine Morvan, France, in the series standings. The impressive young skipper has been a consistent performer on the Tour in his first season as a Tour card holder, finishing 3rd at Match Race Germany and adding a 7th place finish in Korea. The last day of the American Express Bosphorus Cup 2012 did not start with the best perspective. The boats had to wait for hours in the water for the wind to come. The race committee had to postpone races for several hours before a light breeze came from the north. The first race of the day started with the boats fighting for a good place on the starting line. Nevertheless, a few metres after the start, the wind shifted considerably and the organisers had to abandon the race and reset the course area. The second and final start was given and the boats had a clear start. Many were the candidates for the first place and the ticket to Porto Curvo, and everyone was pushing hard. That had, as a result, a big collision between Fenerbahce 1 and 7 Villa that could not continue racing. Big winner of the American Express Bosphorus Cup 2012 was finally Goblin 3, that secures its participation to the Melges 24 European Championship in Porto Curvo. The crew celebrated their victory and awaits for the big award ceremony on Tuesday to take the prestigious trophy. Ian Walker and his crew on Abu Dhabi Ocean Racing has won Leg 7 of the Volvo Ocean Race between Miami, Florida and Lisbon, Portugal. This is their first offshore victory in a nerve-jarring transatlantic leg, while Frank Camus in Groupama was second to finish, only 5 minutes behind after more than 3,500 nautical miles of racing was enough to take them top of the overall leaderboard, replacing long-term leaders Telefonica. Groupama spent the entire day snapping at the heels of the Emirati team and were within a mile of their rivals as they headed up the River Tejo towards the finish line. Abu Dhabi defended resolutely, however, matching their rivals manoeuvre for manoeuvre to ensure that their first podium finish on an offshore leg would also be their first win and spark wild celebrations lit up by a booming firework display. Abu Dhabi, who finished at 21 hours 23 minutes 54 seconds UTC, received 30 points for victory, with Groupama netting 25. Puma took 20 points, Telefonica 15 and Camper with Emirates Team New Zealand with 10, after the two had a scintillating neck-and-neck battle to the finish line. Team Sanya finished 6th and picked up 5 points. Groupama now lead Telefonica by 3 points overall, with the Spanish team dropping from the top spot on the leaderboard for the first time since their victory on Leg 1. Next is the Lisbon Import race on Saturday, June 9, with the Leg 8 start the following day. Well, that's all for this week. Join us next Friday for our global roundup of everything that's happening and exciting on the world on water. I'm Sarah McAvenna for BoatsOn.tv.